Fernando Mendoza is the consensus first overall pick in the NFL draft, and we break down his scouting report and why he's worth the risk.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleach Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in all of America. It's all because of you guys. We told you we're going to start our player profiles, and we're kicking it off with the presumed #1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. We're getting to his scouting report. We're going to talk strengths, concerns, explain our grades, and give you some NFL comps to get ready for him, whichever team he lands with, whether it's the Las Vegas Raiders or if it's somebody else that we don't know about. But let's go ahead and get it started, Keith. And I want to ask you one simple question as we get into the strengths of Fernando Mendoza. What's his best trait?
Yeah, DP, I'm gonna say this, right? I'm gonna start with intangible for his best traits. Obviously, we could go in the direction of physical tools, but the one, in my opinion, that's most important is, if you want to call it the clutch gene, if you want to call it the it factor, if you want to call it having ice water in his veins, the ability to show up in big time games and make the correct play in big time moments, in my opinion, is huge, right? Like that sets quarterbacks apart, right? That sets you from good to great, from great to legendary, right? Is those moments when you can put the team on your back and make plays. And I think Fernando this season, right, the 2025 football season, college football season, he's shown the ability to do that consistently, right? Whether it's the Oregon, the Ohio States, Miami, the national championship game, either his team is winning because they're controlling the game and putting it on teams, or if it's close, he can make plays, right? And we've seen the national championship game, they called the QB draw, right? And he was able to still utilize his legs and power himself in for the touchdown. So when I look at Fernando, DP, I look at that as the most, in my opinion, the most important trait, because he's going to need that confidence carrying into the NFL, because most likely he's going to go to a bad football team, right? So he's going to have to be mentally tough and willing to show up in those difficult situations.
No, I love that you started with an intangible, Keith, because in my opinion, I'm right there with you. I've said many times, to me, he has, like you said, all the different cliches, ice water in his veins. He's a killer. Like, he's a stone cold killer in these big time moments. And it's crazy because when the person that you see, and we've seen post game and different things like that, even pre-game interviews, whatever, like the jovial attitude and, just the unbridled passion and uncontrolled passion that he has. And then you see him in between the lines in those big moments, and like there's no pulse, and this dude just wants to rip your heart out. Like he doesn't care who's on the other. Like the throws he made going back to that Ohio State game, you're going against a team that everybody looked at that had the best roster in college football from top to bottom on offense and defense. And to go against that defense with Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and Davison Igbenusson, Caden Curry, Caden McDonald, just multiple Caleb Downs, multiple first round picks on that defense, and to watch Fernando literally make big time throw at the big time throw. I love that. I think for me, Keith, some of the strengths of him when you're talking about on the field, it's the accuracy. It's the accuracy and the ball placement. This dude is, when he throws the ball, it's full control of where he wants to put it. And I love that from a quarterback, right? And I always talk about this with quarterbacks. Quarterback, like to throw a back shoulder fade and things like that, you got to have the ball placement that can stop your receiver. Or you think about those watching the old guard of quarterbacks who like emphasize accuracy so much, the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning's, the Drew Breeses of the world. One thing I remember Tom Brady used to always do so well, hey, I got these small 5'10" slot receivers that's working the middle of the field. That's back then when you could hit guys without the penalties, right? Like you could actually smack a guy coming across the middle. Edelman knows all about that. It's the ball placement of how to stop my receiver or my tight end and protect them from kill shots across the middle of the field. Throwing the ball low, throwing the ball in the middle of the field and putting it to a spot where I can stop your momentum. I don't throw it and lead you into a hit. I throw you and protect you from a hit. He does that. The ball placement on back, shoulder fades,
That's
the
what I was
fade
gonna
ball.
do. Yeah, I was gonna go with the ball placement on the back shoulder throws, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen it. I feel like he continued to do it more and more, right? And
Yep.
in comparison, right? And not saying he's exactly this guy, but we watched Aaron Rodgers almost somewhat change the game with the back shoulder throw, right? Like in it was probably a 3 to 5 year period where he was flat out dominant with the back shoulder throw, right? And defenses and defensive backs had to try to catch up to how to play the back shoulder throw, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you, but I think even in a national championship game, that was such a big thing, right? Being able to work the back shoulder or throw the 50-50 ball, but put it in a good spot, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's a huge thing to understand as a quarterback.
He's a wide receiver, tight end friendly quarterback. He's that guy. Number one, he's gonna give you a chance. If you got the one on, you know what I mean, Keith. You know what I mean. You worked at LSU. You worked with some dogs at LSU from Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. How many times they came to the sideline and looked at Burrow like, "Yo, I got one-on-one. Like, throw it up." You know what I mean? Like, give me the rock, right? You know what I mean? Like, how many times we heard Chad Ochocinco say, "Listen, if I got this much space, I'm open." Carson, throw me the football, right? Like these top receivers are going to say that. He's the type of quarterback you don't have to tell that to Fernando. If Fernando identifies pre-snap that he gets the one-on-one, he's going to that one-on-one almost every time. If it's Omar Cooper Jr., he's attacking it. If it's Elijah Surratt on the slot fade, he's attacking it. If it's Charlie Becker at 6'4", 205, he's throwing it up there. So that aggressiveness as a quarterback, I love that from him as well. And I think we talk about the accuracy, the ball placement. I think he's a high football IQ quarterback as well. Listening to him talk, like I said, that podcast with Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram, and the crew from Fox, and listen to him break down coverages and how teams throw different things at him to slow that offense down, and how he knows, like he understands, okay, if they're in this is what we need to run to beat them or to get them out of it. Like that high level IQ as a college player is something that you don't see a lot, man. Like you don't see a lot. You can tell he studies film. You can tell he watches and he's a student of the game.
He's committed to it.
100%. And I think, I mean, kind of introduce that connection to Tom Brady with the Raiders. I think Tom Brady gets a chance to interview him. I think Tom Brady's gonna love him. You know what I mean? I think that's why they were all at the national championship game. The whole Raiders brass. I think the owner was there, Tom Brady, the scouts, the coaches, like not the coaches, because they didn't have their coaching staff yet. They're supposed to be hiring Clint Kubiak and everything. But I think with Mendoza, Keith, it's if he sees what he's one of those quarterbacks. If I know what you're in, you're dead to rights. And it's that and the quick processing that I like a lot too. A guy that understands if you keep throwing, especially if you keep throwing the same coverage. You want to, Iowa kept doing it in that Iowa game. I think they were the first team that did it. That simulated pressure and the cover zero looks. They kept throwing that at him in that game. And by the time that fourth quarter came, he said, "All right, that's enough of that slant, glance route, money. Elijah Surratt, go get it." I think Oregon tried it. He burned them on it. Like he started beating teams that wanted to do that to him, to where it kind of forces you to drop back in coverage and not send guys towards him.
Yep, I agree, DP, and I think what we said is too much part. Right, what we said is the two most important parts. I'm sorry, and that's toughness and then the IQ part of it, right? And I think if we look at the physical traits, there's a lot of boxes that he checks as far as being sufficient enough, right? And so that's the strengths, the people. As we roll out these player reports, right, we're gonna do the entire thing. We talked about the strengths. Up next, we're gonna talk about the concerns, right? What are the concerns? What should you be concerned about with Fernando Mendoza as a quarterback in the NFL? We'll talk about that coming up next.
Taxes don't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with the local TurboTax expert in person, or you connect with them online. They will handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. It's a huge time saver and gives you a real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling this for you. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. So take taxes off your plate and get back to living your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. And it can honestly feel like everyone else has it all together in their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or just focusing on yourself, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off yourself. It's so easy to assume everyone else has the perfect relationship, but most people are still working through something. The biggest thing, it reminds you that you're not behind, you're right on time. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the US and they do initial matching for you so you can focus on your goals. If you want to switch therapists, you can do that at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/locked-on. That's BetterHelp.com/locked-on. Breaking down the concerns of quarterback Fernando Mendoza. That's what we're getting into next. But guys, thanks for being an everydayer with us. If you want the show ad-free, check out the Everydayer Club. Go subscribe and become a member. All you have to do is go to lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com. Concerns, Keith. Some of the things that concern me with when it came down to Fernando Mendoza. Like I said, he's going to check plenty of physical boxes from a NFL standpoint in terms of, hey, he's sufficient to good. He doesn't have any elite physical trait or tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows up at times where, like, from an arm talent standpoint, his arm is good. It's not great. It's not elite. Now, can he make the whole shots? Yes, he can. You know what I mean? He can drive the ball, but he doesn't have that howitzer, that rocket, that cannon to where it's like, hey, if you're really late on the throw, you can still force it in there, right? Like, he doesn't have that.
That's what I was going to say, DP. He can't be late, right? Like, I think that's the thing for Fernando. Like, he can't be late. And I think about, I'm going to save that part. I'm about to go into comparisons, right? You know what? That's not going to be my comp, but
Yeah.
I'll say this, like with Brock Purdy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we always talk about, like, he throws the football before the tight end even thinks about clearing the second level, right? Like he
throws it to that spot, baby.
Yeah, and I think that's the peak level of anticipation, right? But I don't think Fernando has to play at that point, but probably somewhere under there to where it's like throwing with anticipation. But I think that also translates to him having to get pre-snap and post-snap correct, right? Like, you have to be correct, because if he holds onto that football double clutches, right, then that's when you're talking about potentially being late on the throw. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, 100%. Because there's some, like, I think it was it Oregon? The first game. I think it might have been Finney Jr. that picked him off, but he threw a crossing route late, super late. Like, I don't think he stared at it, but I think he was on another read. He came off of it and he didn't just rip it immediately. He held on to it, burped the baby, and then he ripped it and let the ball go. But by the time you did that, that corner undercuts it because he's got full momentum, and it was an interception. I think it might have been a pick six, if I remember correctly, against Oregon on the road. And everything like that.
I think so. Yep.
So that was like his second interception of the season. I think against Iowa, same thing. Late on the I think an out-breaking route or a deep crosser, and he just kind of let the ball out there, but the ball is late, and the DB's already back in phase. And it's also a situation where it's like, you know what? Just eat the sack or throw it away. Don't make that late throw. So I'm 100% with you. Like, the arm is good. Like, he can make some drive throws. He can attack outside the numbers. Those things aren't a problem, but he does need to play on time in the NFL, because those windows are they close so much quicker in the pros than they do in college. And not having that elite arm. And I mean, heck, to be honest, Josh Allen has an elite arm. We've seen him make those late throws and get intercepted, right? Like you don't need to be playing from behind or behind the clock. You need to be playing on time, right? So I think that was one of the things for me when I watched him, Keith. I think developing consistency with eye manipulation is going to be big in the NFL, right? Like if you got that single high, and he did it against I think he did it against Miami, where to Charlie Becker. I think it might have been a touchdown. I can't remember. But no, it was the goal ball to Charlie Becker, the fade ball, whatever. But they were in cover one. He looks to his left, kind of holds the safety to the left hat, like kind of push him to the left half, hash, comes back and rips the throw. I need that to be consistent, though. Like he doesn't always do that. And I think going in the NFL, you're playing against some of these top safeties, man. They're reading your eyes. Like they're reading where your eyes are. And as a young quarterback, typically, Keith, what do young quarterbacks do? They stare down their primary read when they get in the NFL, right? Like that internal clock hasn't really got going. So I want to see him get better with the eye manipulation in terms of being more consistent, holding those second and third level defenders. Second level defenders, hey, if you like, especially going into the NFL where you're not going to run as much RPO as you're in Indiana, like you got to move that linebacker so you can throw that backside slant. Like you can't just immediately look at the slant and carry that defender into your throwing lane. So he's got to work on some of that stuff from a nuanced standpoint with his eyes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this, and I don't know if it's a combination of him throwing late or me just feeling like there are times where I think that he tests windows that he shouldn't test. And put the ball in places. And that line, right, is a very fine line that you have to walk, because I always say this, right? Like they're two different quarterbacks, right? That there are the Jameis Winstons of the world that are going to test every single opportunity and situation. And then there are the Jimmy Garoppolos where they're not going to test any situations, right?
Right.
Which that gives you different outcomes, meaning that Jameis Winston, you know that you could put up 30 points, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, you're probably capped at 20, right? Like that's just, you're not gonna have any turnovers, but he's not gonna score you 20 points, right? It won't happen. And so I think with speaking to Fernando is finding that balance, right? Because there are times where I say that you have to touch the windows, the 50-50 balls, things like that, because that's where you get the huge throws, right? That's the sports center throws. Like, oh man, he only had 6 inches to fit that football in there, and he did, right? So you have to make those throws. But I think with Fernando, it's just being more cautious and taking, just understanding to consistently take calculated risks, right? Because like you said, the elevation of defensive backs is going to go higher, things like that. So you have to make sure that, hey, you testing the right defensive back, right? Like understanding game plan going into the game. Listen, this ball of Derek Stingley might not be a 50-50, right? That might not be in my way. I might want to test the third or fourth corner and not a Derek Stingley, just because that's that elevated play. So to me, I think for him, it's going to be taking calculated risks and understanding when to kind of try to test the window and things like that. Because I thought on film early on, I thought he got better towards the back of the season, but early on, I thought that it was like, you know what, let's try to fit it in there. Let's try to fit it in there, right? And so I think it just be a matter of that, finding that balance.
Yeah, no, I think that because he's a willingly aggressive thrower, and like you said, taking a calculated risk, depending on what corner, what secondary you're facing. If you're facing the secondary like the Seattle Seahawks, or like they're tall, they're long, they're athletic, and they're opportunistic. Yeah, or throwing that outbreaker against that slant against Nicky Minwari, that might not. You got to make sure you're on time. You know what I mean? Because these type of athletes, you got guys that can trigger downhill and make a play at the catch point. And a deflection in the NFL could turn into a pick six at any moment. So you got to make sure that you're on time and that you're making the right decisions post snap and not just testing it to test it, right? You know what I mean? Making a calculated decision. I think at the line of scrimmage against simulated pressures, because they run a lot of RPO. This is the offense. I think it's going to be interesting, Keith, and that's why I feel like I know people feel like, okay, physically he's capped. Mentally, I don't think he's anywhere close to being where he could be. You know what I mean? In terms of as a player, because he's not
in a good or bad way. Like expound
in a good way, because like in the RPO game, like Indiana doesn't run a ton of pro style concepts. I tell anybody, you go back, like if you really want to watch him, like come off the first read, not running so much this heavy RPO, go to watch the Cal tape. The Cal tape, they ran way more like actual NFL concepts where he had to go through 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, things like that, where it was a lot of RPO at Indiana. And some of that's due to, hey, it's easier for our guys to separate quickly and everything like that. But I think mentally, like going into the NFL, you get them into a structured NFL offense. I think their OC at Indiana is a Shanahan. I think it's Mike Shanahan or something like that. So you're talking about being able to fit into a West Coast offense, the Kubiaks, the Shanahans, the McVays, stretch run game, play action, bootlegs, get the ball out. He's going to fit that like a glove. And I feel like the mental aspect of it is like once he gets into an offense that asks him to do more, he's going to grow and develop more mentally. But right now, when you get to the line of scrimmage, you see those simulated looks. I want to see him get better at sliding the protection, setting the protection, protect himself, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like there are times where I feel like he's back there. They make a call, they make a check, they sit with it, free runner gets back there. And it's like, you got to be able to call out, hey, this guy's hot, slide your protection. Kurt Warner always talks about it, having answers for pressure, having answers for these looks. And I want to see him get better at having those answers.
Yeah, I agree with that. DP, let's do this, man. This might be my favorite part of doing these draft profile player reports. And that's where we're going to bring out the grade and we're going to talk about the NFL comp, right? So we're going to explain our grade and talk about the NFL comp. Let's do that coming up next.
As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines. And dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. And that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, and quick lunches. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. All you need to do is just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. And knowing that you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you a real peace of mind as a business owner. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. You heard me correct. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time. That's gusto.com/lockedonnfl. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Fernando Mendoza. We're going to talk about our grades, explaining the grades, and giving you the NFL comps that we have. Keith, what grade do you have for Fernando Mendoza? Let's start with the grade. We go back and forth on our grades, and then we start talking about the NFL comps.
Yeah, so I have a first round grade on Fernando, right? And I have him in the bucket of not the elite prospects, right?
Mhm.
But the really good prospects. And I guess just to explain kind of the scale, right? Like it's a rare all pro, and then I have a Pro Bowl caliber, which is right under that, right?
Yeah.
I have him in that bucket. Well, I think his ceiling is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And listen, NFL comp, I'm gonna stick with what I've been saying for a while. I'm gonna stick with Jared Goff. I think they're very similar body type wise. In throwing the football and what people have to understand too is that obviously every number one overall pick isn't created equal, right? Like you don't like the best quarterback in this draft is not the best quarterback in the next year's draft or the best quarterback that was 10 years ago. And same thing with every position, right? Like the best running backs, right? That's why you have to value the Saquon Barkleys and the Bijans and the Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Every RB1 is not the same. So I have him with a 86.5 grade. Which is, to me, that's a solid first round of Pro Bowl caliber, and he will be my QB1 as of right now, as far as the quarterback position for the 2026 NFL draft.
No, I'm with you on that, Keith. I have for my grade, we do I think it's like 1 to 10. So I have an 8.6. You have him as an impact player, like around that 10 to 15 range in terms of like where he would land on the scale. I think he's a top 10 player based on our grades right now. He's a top 5 and everything based on the class. Yeah, I love the kid. I've been pounding the table for him since the summer. You know what I mean? And people looked at me, thought I was a psychopath. I had a lot of people text me like, DP, listen to the show. What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, Fernando Mendoza is QB1. Like, we got Sellers, we got Klubnik, we got Nuss, we got Arts, and so many other core. I'm like, yeah. I'm all in on Fernando, dog. I'm riding with Mendoza, but I'm with you, Keith. I don't think he's an elite prospect, especially physically. I think mentally there's so much more that he could develop into. And a guy that already has high football IQ, the accuracy, ball placement, that's already tops in this class. I don't think that, there's not a quarterback in this class that really truly matches him, will be able to put the ball wherever he needs to put it in terms of placement and everything. So I got him an 8.6 impact player. Day one starter if you want. We always say this. I don't really care who the quarterback is. I'm not starting you at day one, right? If you're the Raiders, you still got Geno Smith under contract. Let Geno run out there for 6 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? Let him watch Geno for 6 or 7 weeks, and then you throw him out there. You're not, unless you make some substantial growth as a team and you're a player, you feel like you're a playoff contender, fine, whatever. But I don't, you're far from that right now. So let the old guy take the bumps and bruises. Let the young guy watch and sit from behind him and everything. But when I look at Fernando, my comp has been this entire time has been Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan with a little bit more mobility. And I think, everybody remember Matt Ryan when he was with the Falcons. Accuracy. He also, remember, he got to the playoffs multiple times, got to the Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as the OC. Very similar play styles. Guys who play well from the neck up, have good arm talent, can drive the ball, throw with accuracy, but also the play action, the bootlegs, things of that nature. And when you get them into a rhythm and let them just go, they can absolutely dissect your defense, and they can slice and dice you if you allow them to. And we've seen that from Mendoza. Every single game winning drive he's had, when it's like, hey, there is no threat of the run game, there is no RPO, and that's why I keep coming back to it. Indiana, I feel like at the same time, Indiana held him back, because I was just like, when you get into these situations where you got to throw the ball, he's making the NFL throws and reads and concepts. And it's like, why don't y'all do this a little more often during the game? You know what I mean? Maybe, he can get into a rhythm a lot faster rather than so much of the RPO stuff. But yeah, my comp has always been Matt Ryan with mobility. I've seen a lot of people say like Sam Bradford when he came out of Oklahoma, when he went to the St. Louis Rams, and I can see that as well. That's the kind of a throwback name for some of our younger listeners. Go check out Sam Bradford was a dog at Oklahoma. Sam Bradford could hoop. The injuries and going to the Rams, who was a terrible franchise at the time, didn't help him out much. But I think Fernando Mendoza is definitely the type of quarterback that, like you said, every number one quarterback isn't built the same. But this is a guy that I would definitely, it's going to be, I'd be hard pressed to say I wouldn't bank on him being a Pro Bowl level quarterback and potentially reaching the all pro level just because of his ability to do the things that you need to do at the NFL and do it at a high level.
Yeah, I think this, DP. We put out the NFL comps, right? We talked about our grade. The biggest question for Fernando Mendoza, and I think with NFL fans, even NFL draft analysts, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's still another quarterback that's talked about as QB1. And I know that sounds insane. And I know that this isn't a consensus thing, right? No. And I want to ask, because I think the fans are going to want to know, right? Because there's some talks of people trading up to 1, things like that. How excited should NFL fans be about Fernando Mendoza, because the excitement was through the roof for a Caleb Williams, a Jay Daniels, a Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, right? Like the excitement was through the roof for those guys. I think people were even more accepting of the combination of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, right? I think for Fernando, they're the people that are forced to believe in it because they kind of have to, right? But I want to ask you, how excited are you about Fernando Mendoza? Like, how optimistic are you about his future in the NFL?
Man, I'm really optimistic, Keith. I'm excited for this young man. And I think, he's my QB1. I think he goes first overall. I think the Raiders have put so much scouting hours, into going after him, whether it's live watches during the season, the Big Ten championship game, the national championship game. When you send Tom Brady down to go watch a player play in person, that lets you know that, hey, we're very high on what you can do and what we expect from you, and we hold the first overall pick. I think I'm going to speak to Raider fans. I think y'all should be excited for this. I think that the fit with Clint Kubiak is going to be like a glove. I think Clint Kubiak, and watching what he's been able to do with Sam Darnold, which there was some trepidation of signing Sam Darnold for the Seahawks. And it was like, man, we're moving off of Geno for Sam, who had one good year with Minnesota, and then he flamed out in the playoffs. And, at the end of that season, now Clint Kubiak, he's going to run the ball. You get into play action. You're going to get these crossing routes and these layered throws and opportunities to attack one-on-one coverages. And that's where Fernando Mendoza really excels. But it's the high football IQ. It is the accuracy. The things that you have to do. Yes, you can run around and you can have the big arms, and we talk about that stuff. But being able to play on time, play on schedule, run the offense like it's supposed to be ran, and really be able to optimize. I think that's one of the biggest things. And we said this multiple times. Mendoza wasn't throwing to 5-star athletes. He wasn't throwing to Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. He wasn't throwing to Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, Makai Lemons of the world. He threw to some good receivers. He didn't throw to great receivers. And going into the NFL, I trust. The reason why I look at, like you look at a CJ Stroud and how he struggled at times ever since his rookie year. You look at Bryce Young and his constant struggle since he's been drafted. You take these guys from perfect situations and put them in poor situations, you don't get the best results. Even though the Texans have been in the playoffs every year of CJ Stroud's career, but still, yet the play hasn't been the same since he was a rookie. So taking a guy go from, hey, I'm not coming from a great situation. I'm not coming from a wealthful wide receiver room in terms of guys that should be drafted top 5, top 10. I can come in and throw to Brock Bowers. I can throw to Trey Tucker. I can throw to Deontay Thornton Jr. and not blink an eye about it because I have the accuracy that can actually elevate their games to another level. This is the type of quarterback you want to man your offense and know that, hey, we can. I know what you look like with just good weapons. What happens if we go get you a number 1 wide receiver? If we go get you a number 2 wide receiver as well to go with Brock Bowers and an Ashton Jitty? That's why I feel excited about him, because as an NFL team, you build the offense around him, you're going to have your quarterback for the next 10 and 15 years.
Yep, with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, guys, I think we should keep the quarterback train rolling. Let's get into Ty Simpson's NFL draft profile. The guy said, no, I'm not taking millions to stay in college. I'm all about legacy. I love everything I've heard from Ty Simpson. Now, what does the tape throughout the season tell us? We're going to break that down on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.